Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. The Age of Cards. The 100 Ghosts Night Walk is drawn at the start. Chapter 16. First person in history, achievement task completed. Get 5,000 achievement points, draw a lucky crit once. A line of information jumped out of the void in front of him. Yi Zi looked at the black-scaled lizard who had escaped from the Sea of Fire, and had no intention of pursuing him. Anyway, the mission only requires annihilating 70% of the Saurus soldiers. At the same time, the information of the Will of the Stars also followed. Successfully completed the 1-star advanced mission, Hell level difficulty. You have successfully advanced to a 1-star card student. The star power is increased by 10,000. Get the reward of 70% increase in the unlocking degree of the designated deck, which can be redeemed within 24 hours within a limited time. Get the random draw deck 80% fantasy level, 20% legendary level reward, which can be redeemed within 24 hours within a limited time. A series of information made Yi Zi a little lost. Hell level difficulty is hard to come by, but the rewards are really rich. With a sigh of joy, Yi Zi immediately redeemed the random draw deck reward. Reward caching. Randomly drawn decks. The information of the Will of the Stars suddenly stopped here, and there was no movement for several seconds. Yi Zi's heart moved, and he quickly opened the virtual panel. Sure enough, he found that the lucky crit that was rewarded by the achievement quest was missing. Are the rewards of the achievement system working? In the next second, the information emerges. The deck is drawn. Get the legendary deck, End Night. Legendary deck. Yi Zi was stunned for a moment, and then his face was full of ecstasy. Sure enough, the lucky crit of the card draw was in effect, which directly allowed him to obtain a legendary deck that was 1 level higher than the fantasy level. That's a rare deck that can't be described as an exaggeration. In the entire human league, there are very few people with legendary decks. Yi Zi immediately opened the virtual panel. Name: Knight of the End. Rank: Legend. Family: Kings. Number of cards: 1/6, 1 card spirit card, 3 astrology cards, 1 scene card, 1 core card. Core card. Doomsday. During the seal, the unlocking degree must reach 100% for unsealing. Unlocking degree: 10%. Is it a king-type deck? Yi Zi raised his eyebrows. It is different from the Hero series with a small number of cardings, but with a higher average level, and the Army series with a large number of cardings but generally low levels. Kings usually have only 1 Kaling. Correspondingly, the strength of this only Kaling is often astonishingly strong. By the way, there is another reward. Yi Zi patted his forehead, and simply used the reward of increasing the unlocking degree of the designated deck by 70% on End Night, and then invested 2,000 achievement points to increase the unlocking degree of the deck to 100% in one fell swoop. Finally, there is a deck that unlocks 100%. Yi Zi was a little itchy. But after thinking about it, he still suppressed the idea of summoning Kaling immediately. The sound of the battle here is estimated to have spread far, and soon the army of the Human Alliance on the front line should send scouts to investigate, or it is better to leave soon. Putting away all the Kalings, Yi Zi immediately activated the teleportation function attached to the mission and disappeared instantly. It was not until Yi Zi left for a long time that the 5 members of the adventure team who were watching the battle from a distance gradually recovered. The 5 of them looked at each other, and there was a deep shock on their faces. Really destroyed. That young boy really destroyed the Blackscale outpost by himself. Incredible. In exchange for a 5 or 6-star card student who has practiced for many years to do this kind of thing, they still don't think there is anything. But when the executor becomes a young man who is less than 20 years old, it is deeply incredible. When did Tianxin City produce such a powerful young genius? After a long time, Li Yu broke the silence. Who is that lord? The tone and address unconsciously became respectful. After all, in Katu's world, the strong are respected, regardless of seniority and age. Unfortunately, no one answered this question, and everyone present had the same doubts. Finally, Zhang Pei pondered. We haven't heard of that lord. It means that he should not be a member of the Cards Association, or he has just registered for a long time, otherwise we should have heard of him no matter how low-key he acts. Could that be a student of Tianxin College? Li Yu guessed. Zhang Pei hesitated, then shook his head and said, It's not possible. Even the senior students of Tianxin College can't have the strength of 5 or 6 stars. The rest nodded in agreement. The most outstanding graduate of Tianxin Academy in the past 10 years is Xiao Aiyu, the leader of the Red Light Adventure Group. When he graduated that year, Xiao Aiyu was only a 4-star card student. Since he's not a student, can our Kai Yao Adventure Group recruit him? Zhao Lin's proposal made the eyes of the other 4 light up. Yup. It is very likely that the adult is a free card student. That being the case, maybe they can be recruited into the adventure group. In this way, the adventure group will be able to add one more card master, and it is still a potential stock with great growth space, so it is not too cost effective. Let's go. We will go back and report to the head of the regiment immediately. Chapter 17. Frontline Command Camp in Tianxin City. Xiao Yingfan was sitting behind the desk, staring at the documents on the desk with a thoughtful expression. Just half an hour ago, the front scout suddenly sent information. The sky-high flames were found on the black-scaled lizard's defenses. After analysis, the location where the firelight appeared happened to be an outpost of the black-scaled lizard. This phenomenon immediately aroused the vigilance of Xiao Yingfan and other officers, and they immediately sent more scouts to investigate in detail. No, we have no plans to attack the lizard camp these 2 days. Xiao Yingfan muttered to himself. After a long battle, the Human Alliance and the black-scaled lizards have ushered in a period of peaceful confrontation in the past few days. There was a tacit truce on both sides to give the soldiers below some time to breathe. So it is absolutely impossible to be the action of the military. Could it be the Katu Association? Could it be that the group of lizards burned down the camp when they were roasting their own food? Xiao Yingfan shook his head. At this moment, the sound of knocking on the door came. Come in. The door opened in response, and his deputy Zhe Chengelin walked in. General, we found out that there was a black-scaled lizard outpost 10 miles to the north that was destroyed, and the entire camp was burned to the ground. Hey, it's well cooked. It's time for these lizards to taste the taste of being grilled. Let's see if they dare to use humans to barbecue. Xiao Yingfan grinned. Zhe Chengelin had long been used to his boss's carefree smile, and he smiled unconcernedly. What's the loss? The dispatched scouts arrested a few lizard soldiers and tortured them. It is said that the losses were very heavy. There were not 1 out of 10 lizard soldiers in the camp. Even the commander Andrew and the lizard wizard Grove were killed in battle. As soon as these words came out, Xiao Yingfan finally looked moved. Do you know who did it? I don't know yet. Zhe Chengelin spread his hands, a little helpless. I heard that those soldiers didn't see the attacker's true face from beginning to end, and the attacker used the scene card from the beginning. Scene cards. Cards with fantasy-level decks. Xiao Yingfan raised his brows. It seems that it should be an adventure group or a powerful adventurer. Old Zhe, call and ask the Katu Association to see if they have recently released the task of destroying the samurai camp. Zhe Chengelin nodded in agreement, turned and left the office to make a phone call. However, after a while, he walked back with a strange look on his face. What's wrong? Xiao Yingfan noticed his expression and was a little puzzled. The Cards Association said that they have never issued a similar task at all. Xiao Yingfan was stunned. What's the matter? Those adventure groups and adventurers will not be kind enough to help us get rid of the enemy for free, right? Adventure groups and adventurers are both unprofitable existences. There is no way they can do anything without adequate pay. It is true that some adventurers will hunt black-scaled lizards, peel off their scales and sell them for money, but the powerhouses who can destroy the lizard camp will never do it for this trivial benefit. I am not sure as well. However, I have another message. Having said that, Zhe Chengelin paused, showing an incredible expression as if he had heard some shocking news. Someone has completed the advanced task of hell-level difficulty. What? Xiao Yingfan was a little dazed. After a while, he finally understood the meaning of Zhe Chengelin's words. His eyes suddenly stared like copper bells, his face full of shock and disbelief. Hell-level difficulty. Yes. Hiss. Seeing Zhe Chengelin nodding, Xiao Yingfan couldn't help taking a deep breath. Since Star will release the advanced quest, no one has ever completed the hell-level difficulty, whether it is 1 star or 9 stars. The 3 words, hell level, have almost completely become a symbol. High above. But can't really touch it. But now it's telling me that someone passed the hell level difficulty. If it weren't for the fact that these words came from the always calm and meticulous deputy's mouth, Xiao Yingfan would have wondered if the speaker had a problem with his head. Despite this, he couldn't help but confirm again. Are you sure the news is correct? The Cards Association is still making further confirmation, but it should be right. When did the will of the stars go wrong? Right. Xiao Yingfan was silent for a few seconds, his face became solemn. Report to the top. Be sure to find the person who passed the hell level difficulty. This kind of genius must at least appear in the official vision of the Alliance. At this time, Xiao Yingfan had already forgotten about the destruction of the lizard camp. Compared to the former, a mere lizard camp is not worth mentioning at all. Finding the genius who passed the hell level difficulty is the top priority. Hearing this, Zhe Chenggelin shrugged, a little helpless. Find that person. Easier said than done. Chapter 18. You must find that person. When Xiao Yingfan and Zhe Chenggelin were discussing in the barracks, a similar conversation was taking place in the top office of the Carters Association. It's just that the parties were replaced by the president of the association, He Xiaofei, and the assistant to the president. Hearing He Xiaofei's request, the assistant was embarrassed for a while. President, it's not like you don't know how confidential the will of the stars is. Unless the parties take the initiative to show or inform, even if the high-level headquarters of the headquarters comes, you don't even think about finding a little bit of information. He Xiaofei's mouth twitched, speechless. He knew the assistant was telling the truth. But he was not willing to give up like this. The Cards Association in Tianjin City has not recruited outstanding new blood for many years. Now it's hard to come up with an excellent seedling. He is also an extremely talented person who has passed the advanced quest of hell level difficulty. How could he have the heart to give up? In any case, try your best to find it for me and mobilize the power of the entire association. I don't believe that I can't find any clues. Seeing He Xiaofei's firm expression, the assistant swallowed the words of persuasion and nodded in response. Although it is bound to be in vain. Apart from knowing that those who pass the hell level difficulty are in Tianjin City, there is no other information at all. How many advanced tasks? When did you pick it up? What is the content of the task? These are all unclear. How to ask someone to check? With a sigh in his heart, the assistant turned and left the office, making plans to stay and work overtime tonight. The office returned to silence. Only He Xiaofei was left to sit behind the table and meditate. After a while, forget it, don't be too ambitious, let's recruit the nearest target first. A low self-talk sounded. He Xiaofei turned his eyes and landed on a document on the desktop. In the upper right corner of the profile, there is a photo of Yi Zi's head. Back home. Yi Zi opened the virtual panel for the first time. Character. Yi Zi. Equal tier. 1-star card student. Deck. 100 Ghosts Night Walk Fantasy. 31% unlocked. End Night Legendary. 100% unlocked. Star Power. 10,100 10,100. Astrology. Star Shield. Achievement points. 3,000. 10,100 Star Power. Compared with the initial 100 points of star power, Yi Zi has a feeling of getting rich overnight. Most of the high star card disciples have less star power than him. After a while of joy, Yi Zi finally remembered the business, and hurriedly drew out the card of the Night of the End. Gloomy light flashed. A figure slowly emerged. The dark full body armor. The head is completely wrapped in the thick helmet, and even the hands are covered by the black gauntlets. The whole body is not exposed at all, and there is a heavy sense of oppression inside and outside. The weapon is a matte black long spear with strange and mysterious patterns engraved on its surface. Just looking at it gave people an indescribable sense of despair. The Last Night, level 70. Yi Zi took a light breath. Level 70. It is several levels stronger than Shuden Duji, who has been greatly enhanced with the Ghost Wrong astrology card. It is indeed a legendary king-type Kaling. A high level. Although Yi Zi was promoted to a 1-star card disciple, the card spirit levels of Baigui Yexing also increased. But the strongest Kaling that has been unlocked so far, the Shuden Duji, is only level 49, far inferior to the Night of the End. This is not only the difference between the king-type and hero-type decks, but also the gap between fantasy level and legendary level decks. My lord. A cold voice woke him up from his joy. Yi Zi looked up and found that the Night of the End was kneeling in front of him. Get up and talk. The higher the level of the card deck, the closer the thinking ability to human beings, and many of the card spirits can communicate with the card disciples normally. Yi is not surprised by this. What surprised him was that, listening to the voice, the armored knight in front of him seemed to be a woman. After hesitating for a while, Yi said tentatively, "Take off your helmet." The final knight took off his helmet without hesitation. A long smooth silver hair fell down like a waterfall. At the same time, a delicate and beautiful face was also revealed in front of Yi. Time is dusk. Soft golden sunlight streamed in from the balcony and fell sideways on her face, illuminating her already contoured face like a sculpture. A sculpture that expresses the beauty of softness with clear and heroic lines. The eyes are pale gold. His eyes were clear without the slightest ferocity. But it was like a sharp long sword that had just been washed in ice water, shining with a cold light that seemed to pierce through everything. "Do you have a name?" Yi asked suddenly. The Knight of the End nodded slightly. "Arena Silvers." Yi repeated it in a low voice and smiled. "Then I'll call you Arena from now on." Arena nodded silently, expressing her understanding. He seems to be a quiet man. Yi thought to himself. Chapter 19. Yi tried to take the initiative to have a few more conversations with Arena. The girl's voice was cold and slightly subdued, and it sounded very calm and calm. The only fly in the ointment is that she has very few words. Basically, Yi asked and she answered. And the answers are often very brief. After a while, Yi reluctantly gave up trying to talk. However, he did not take Irina back into the card. Summoning Irina only consumes 30 star power. And the consumption of maintaining its existence is only 30 star power per hour. This consumption was not even quicker than Yi's automatic recovery of star power. If he wants to, he can even let Arena stay outside without worrying about the consumption of star power. That's the benefit of having up to 10,100 star power. Putting his mind back on the virtual board, Yi thought for a while, and put the remaining 3,000 achievement points into the Bagui Night Walk deck, which directly increased the unlock rate to 61%. The number of unlocked cards suddenly increased to 67. Complete a few more achievement tasks, and you should be able to unlock 100 Ghosts Night Walk to 100%. The next morning, the news that someone has cleared the Hell Level Difficulty Advanced mission has spread throughout Tianjin City, which, unsurprisingly, caused a great shock. All the forces and organizations in Tianjin City made a sensation, and sent personnel everywhere to investigate. For a time, the entire Tianjin City was undercurrent. The parties concerned, as if nothing had happened, arrived at the academy early as always. When he came to the class, Yi found that Xiao Huaning was already sitting in his seat, so he said hello casually. "Good morning." "Good morning, Yi." Xiao Huaning responded immediately with a bright smile. "I heard from the head teacher that you are going to apply for advanced tasks. How are you preparing?" "Well, it has been successfully completed." Quote question mark. Xiao Huaning's expression froze. She originally wanted to ask Yi if she needed help in order to get closer, but she heard an unexpected answer. Didn't you plan to apply for the advanced quest yesterday?" "Yes." Quote. "It means that the advanced tasks are completed in one day. This is too fast, right? Could it be that he applied for an advanced task with relatively low difficulty?" Xiao Huaning hesitated to speak, and finally couldn't help but ask. "What's the difficulty of your advanced task?" "Guess it." Yi said casually with a smile. Xiao Huaning was stunned by this answer. After thinking for a few seconds, he tentatively said, "Nightmare level, or horror level." Xiao Huaning's own goal is the nightmare level. In her heart, Yi was much more powerful than herself, so it was not impossible to choose the horror level. Gao Wendong, who was on the side, kept secretly listening to the conversation between the two, and finally couldn't help sneering when he heard this. "Terrorist level. Why don't you just say hell level?" Yi gave him a surprised look. "Young people have good eyesight, you have guessed this." Xiao Huaning didn't have such a good attitude towards classmates of the opposite sex other than Yi. Hearing this, he turned his head to stare at him, and said coldly, "None of your business." Gao Wendong choked, gritted his teeth in anger, and glared at Yi angrily. "Don't you just look handsome? Can you eat? What about the freshman chief?" Just a poor boy. I have the support of massive cultivation resources provided by my family, and it won't take long for me to surpass him. This kind of civilian boy with no background and no resources, even if he has a little talent, he can't go very far. Wait, I will surpass you sooner or later, and you will be able to laugh at that time. Gao Wendong snorted coldly in his heart. Go back to your seat and sit down, class is over. At this moment, Qin Hong walked into the class. Seeing this, Xiao Huaning had no choice but to give up the questioning and sit up straight. Is there anyone who hasn't learned Star Shield yet? After everyone was quiet, Qin Hong asked immediately. No one spoke. Very good. Qin Hong nodded in satisfaction. After all, it is the best class. All students have mastered the Star Shield in one day, and now the next course can be carried out smoothly. Mastering the Star Shield, your own security will be guaranteed to a certain extent. Then next, you don't need to conduct virtual drills, you can jump directly to actual combat. Hearing this, the students in the class basically understood. Sure enough, I heard Qin Hong say. Get ready, I'll take you out of the city later to get familiar with field combat and team cooperation. As soon as the voice fell, there was a whisper of whispers in the class. Many students showed excitement and anticipation. That's actual combat. No matter how realistic the virtual drill is, it can't compare to the battle with real swords and guns. Almost all those who dream of becoming a kazoo have the ambition to fight against aliens, fight for strength and fame on the battlefield, and be admired by thousands of people. Actual combat is the first step towards ambition. Many students are already gearing up for this, ready to flex their muscles. Yi Zi sat in the crowd, his face was calm, and there was no wave in his heart. He just destroyed a lizard camp yesterday, and nearly 1,000 aliens were killed. For him, the mere combat course was no different from playing a family. Chapter 20. After 10 minutes, Qin Hong and all the students in class took the bus to the outside of the city. Xiao Huaning was quick-witted and took the seat next to Yi Zi as soon as he sat down. Many girls who had the same idea but were one step behind felt regretful. You don't look like you're nervous. After the vehicle started, Xiao Huaning took the initiative to open the topic. I just went out of town yesterday. Yi Zi laughed. Xiao Huaning was relieved when he heard the words. Thinking about it, Yi Zi is a person who has completed the one-star advanced task. How can he be nervous and excited because of the mere actual combat course? Have you had any experience in field combat before? Yi Zi found that Xiao Huaning didn't look very excited and looking forward to it. I used to follow the adventure group to go out on missions, although I just watched the battle from the sidelines. Yi Zi was stunned. This is good for the children of the big family. Before becoming a card student, there are enough opportunities to get familiar with and accumulate experience in advance. Once the awakening is successful, the accumulated experience will allow them to avoid many detours, and the speed of cultivation far exceeds that of ordinary people. Of course, the current Yi Zi is not so envious. No matter how fast those disciples of the big family cultivated, they were far behind him. Time passes in small talk. Unconsciously, the bus had already driven outside the city and stopped in front of a guard post. We're going to be on our way. Qin Hong exchanged a few words with a few officers who came forward to ask questions, then turned around and gestured for the students to get off the bus. The first 2 kilometers is Death Knell Canyon. It is very likely that you will encounter a small number of death knell beetles on the road. Everyone should be careful, remember to maintain the Star Shield at all times, and pay attention to team cooperation. Naturally, it was impossible for all 30 students to come to the team to cooperate. They could only form a small group in 2s and 3s, and cooperate and take care of each other during the battle. Yi Zi, let's form a team together. Before the other girls could speak, Xiao Huaning spoke first. Yi Zi didn't object either, and nodded in response. Seeing this, Xiao Huaning frowned and a happy smile appeared on his face. After the teams were divided, everyone set off quickly. Deathstroke Canyon is located in the south of Tianjin City, not far from the entrance of Yin Karen Plain. It was a death knell worm mother who came out of the Yin Karen Plain, and ran to the canyon to nest and live, and hatched countless death knell beetles, which created the reputation of the Death Knell Canyon. Juvenile death knell beetles are only level 5 to 7, and adult knell beetles are level 10. The level is not high, just suitable for apprentice card apprentice experience. In addition, the death knell beetle reproduces rapidly, so over time, the Death Knell Canyon has become a place for apprentice carters and novice adventurers to practice combat. This also effectively curbed the expansion of the death knell beetle population, and the military was happy to see it succeed. After walking out of the sentinel level for a distance, the students summoned their Kalings one after another. Naturally, there was no need for Arena to appear on such a small occasion. Yeezy only summoned the Snow Girl and the Bone Girl. Able to play, but also seductive. Xiao Huaning had just summoned the Wind Giant and the Hurricane Warrior, and when he turned his head, he saw two more beautiful women beside Yeezy. The Bone Girl is mature and beautiful, and the Snow Girl is cold and elegant. All of them are beautiful women with pleasing faces. The boys in the same group quickly noticed the two more beauties in the team, and immediately envy and hatred. Everyone is Kaling. Why is your Kaling so beautiful? It's good. If I also have such a beautiful Kaling, I will definitely summon them every day to cultivate feelings. Bah, are you trying to cultivate feelings? You are greedy for their bodies. Aren't you greedy? Are you a eunuch? Tisk tisk, that mature Kaling is my favorite. I like the gentle big sister type the most. Gentle big sister. Yeezy glanced at the smiling Bone Girl with a strange expression. If the talking male student knew that the hobby of this gentle elder sister was to pull out the spine of the enemy as a sword swing, I wonder if he would have the same idea. Yeezy, these two Kalings seem to be different from the ones you summoned before. Xiao Huaning said with some doubts. Kalings in the same deck usually have common attributes. For example, her Hurricane Mountains, the Kalings she possesses are all wind elemental creatures, not as different as the Kalings summoned by Yeezy before and after. We are all monsters. The answer was Bone Girl. She walked to Xiao Huaning with a smile. What a beautiful little girl. While talking, he reached out and stroked Xiao Huaning's cheek, and the white palm gradually moved towards the back of her neck, rubbing gently. Cough. Yeezy couldn't take it any longer and coughed lightly. The Bone Girl then retracted her arm with a smile and returned to his side. Xiao Huaning didn't realize anything strange about the Bone Girl's actions just now, but was a little surprised that this Kaling's behavior pattern seemed almost the same as ordinary people. At this moment, Qin Hong's low voice came, interrupting everyone's chat. Notice. The monster is here. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.